Fear Not, Episode 6. Hi, I'm Billy Atwell, and I believe that consistently facing your fears is the only way to realize your truest self and to make those confident choices that will help you to obtain your deepest held hopes and dreams. I have faith that this podcast series will show you that you are not alone, that it will strengthen you and give you courage to face your fears, and that it will help you to permanently cross over into a life of living beyond your fears. Join me on this journey as we listen and learn from others as they share their experiences in facing and overcoming their own fears. Hello, everybody. Today, you and I are going to be joined by Susan Berkley. Welcome, Susan. How are you today?
I'm great, Billy. Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Are you ready to fear not?
I am ready to fear not.
Susan is an international communications expert and author of Speak to Influence, How to Unlock the Hidden Power of Your Voice. Susan is a top voiceover artist. Her voice has sold millions of dollars worth of products and services on TV and radio commercials. She is the voice who says, "Thank you for using AT&T and welcome to CityPhone Banking." Berkley was a behind-the-scenes expert presentation skills coach on Donald Trump's Apprentice, helping to coach the winning apprentice to victory. A frequent media guest, she has been featured in Bottom Line Personal, on ABC News, CNBC, To Tell the Truth, and in the New York Times, the LA Times, and Business Weekly. She is founder and principal of the Great Voice Company Incorporated, providing professionally recorded audio for business applications in any language. The Great Voice Company also provides training in persuasive speaking skills for business and sales professionals and training in voiceover technique. Before starting her business, Susan spent 15 years in broadcasting as a radio personality, including a 2-year stint as a cast member on The Howard Stern Show. Susan, would you like to take a few minutes and fill in the gaps and give us a brief glimpse of your personal life?
Yeah, sure. I first want to give you a disclaimer, Billy, that when I worked with The Apprentice, it was many years ago, before this whole crazy political thing we got going on with Trump, and my aid to that show means nothing about my political views at all.
Okay. Duly noted.
Yeah. So, but the point here is that the way that we communicate, the tone of our voice is key in everything that we do. And I'm also doing a lot of work now with companies to help make their employees brand evangelists. And a new program that I created, which is called How to Build Trust with Your Voice, it's an e-learning program to help companies, customer service and salespeople gain credibility, authenticity, and convey a sense of reliability when they speak. So it's great, a lot of fun. And personally, let's see, I live outside of New York City. I live in Rockland County. I'm single. I have a wonderful partner, boyfriend, who's a journalist, and a great life. I travel a lot, go to Brazil twice a year to work with my mentor, Dr. Kepi, and we'll talk about him, I think, if you start asking me some questions. So go right ahead.
Can you tell us one of the biggest fears that you've had to face?
So I'm so glad we're talking about fear on this program, Billy, and you're addressing this issue, because I think it's something that obviously a lot of people struggle with, and it can be extremely paralyzing to people as they try to accomplish their goals and move ahead in life. When I was getting started in radio, I was in my early 20s, and I suffered from panic attacks. And those are, bad ones, where I would be out in a supermarket and all of a sudden feel like I couldn't breathe, and I would abandon my shopping cart and run outside to get air, those types of things. I'd be on the radio. I remember one day, I was on a 100,000-watt rock radio station, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people listening to my midday show, and all of a sudden getting a panic attack. And literally, I felt like I would pass out if I stood up, so I literally crawled out of the control room into the ladies' room to splash cold water on my face. I mean, that was the depths of it. I think that was, so I really empathize with what people go through who have that level of anxiety in their lives.
What did you do? What helped you to get over that anxiety?
Yeah, exactly, because I'm completely panic-free. I've been for many years. What I discovered, Billy, is that panic and feelings of anxiety are like a symptom. They are a symptom that there's some sort of consciousness that your psyche is trying to make you aware of that's difficult, painful for you to address. And what I did was I had some psychotherapy that helped me. Fortunately, they didn't put me on any medication because while I don't want to, I understand that for some people that could be helpful. The danger there is that you are masking symptoms that could really help you get to the root of what is causing that anxiety in the first place. Anxiety is like a fever in your soul. And in my case, here I was, at a very young age. My career was taking off. I was extremely successful in radio. I was working on a major market station. And I think internally, that level of activity put me in touch with a tremendous resistance that I had to my own growth and development that was like kind of indecent to me. So it showed up as a feeling of panic because what happens, Billy, is that we tend to idealize ourselves. Everybody does, unconsciously. And when we are thrust into the real world in our lives, whether it's professionally or personally, and the pedal hits the metal, you're faced with the reality of who you are. We're human beings, and while we have many wonderful qualities, we're also pretty much a mess. All of us have a lot of unconscious attitudes that are against our own growth and development, as well as some we can be arrogant, we can be angry, we can be hostile, all of those things. And the point is to develop a tolerance for becoming conscious of those attitudes so that we can control them. Because if you're in a kind of a numb bubble, the problem only gets worse, and it passes from anxiety, which is very easily, although it's scary at the time when you're going through it, but very easily solved by a good therapist, without medication. But if you don't deal with it, then it could start to morph into physical symptoms, which are a lot more difficult and even dangerous for the individual.
So what do you do on a daily basis, or what kind of habit do you have that helps you to stay in that consciousness and to help you stay out of those fears?
Yeah, so at this point in my life, and after I went through that one episode, I no longer, fear is not something in my vocabulary. I mean, I think that obviously we are all naturally born with the fear of, like heights and loud noises and danger, and that's very, very healthy. Everybody has that, and your body takes care of that with adrenaline and noradrenaline and, to get the heck out of the situation. That's normal. But the point is that you want to have a certain equanimity in your life where you are able to do what you need to do and be who you need to be and help others and be calm. So what I did was I was very fortunate when I was after that whole episode, and I was in New York City. I met Dr. Norberto Keppe, who is a psychoanalyst and also a philosopher and a sociologist, and has written almost 50 books. And I started psychotherapy with him, and it has been like a lifelong journey for me, where I really came to understand not just my own psyche, but how people work, how and how society works, like the true meaning. And I think that what Keppe's, one of his key things is that illness comes from inside ourselves, not outside ourselves. And so therefore, once you realize that, you regain your sense of control. You can begin that journey within and develop the resources that you need to deal with anything that comes up. And believe me, crap happens all the time for all of us. So I have stayed very, very close to him and his trainings. I go to Brazil twice a year for my own mental health. I spend 6 weeks a year down there. I speak Portuguese fluently. He's still around, but he's written a ton of books. So I'm very active in that organization. I speak Portuguese fluently, and I help translate projects. I'm helping to develop new projects and trainings using his methodology. So all of that is extremely healthy for me and, keeps me where I need to be.
I did a little research in preparation for our conversation today, and I believe his main body of work is called The Origin of Illness. Is that not correct?
That's one of his books that's available in English, and actually I co-translated and published it, and it is available along with several other books on Amazon that you can download the PDF. Origin of Illness is a fabulous book because it, in a nutshell, and a lot of people that I've referred to that book have loved it. What that book is about why we sabotage ourselves. And it's an in-depth, Kepi's work is based on over 50 years of study. He was trained in Vienna under Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, but rejected Freudian psychoanalysis because he felt that it was too very outdated, just focused on sex, which obviously is not the answer. Although it's pleasurable, it doesn't solve the world's problems. So he developed what he calls analytical trilogy, which is much more of a unification. It takes the person's spiritual beliefs into account, their philosophy of life, as well as the psychology. And in this book, Origin of Illness, it's a study of envy, of all things, which Kepi sees is a rejection of goodness, an unconscious rejection of goodness. He believes the human being was created good, obviously has a lot of, some distortions in his psychogenetic structure, which cause him to, get into trouble, reject goodness. But what happens is that we have these envious attitudes, and it's more than just simple covetousness. It's really it's not just that, I personally I'm unable to thrive, and unconsciously I'm holding myself back, but I also don't want you to thrive. That's what envy is, and it's at its roots. And these attitudes are unconscious, and they're very unpleasant. And so what happens is that we tend to censor them, which Kepi says that censorship is also the illness. So we go numb in all the ways that we go numb, and or we then project these attitudes onto others. Well, it's your fault. It's because you said this to me. My upbringing was bad. What happens is the individual is unable to feel gratitude, feel pleasure, feel appreciation for the beauty of God's creation. So it's a fabulous book that is very easy to read with lots of case studies and very short chapters that you could use and read them. So to say what Kepi's fundamental book, I would recommend that one. I would recommend a book called Liberation, which is also downloadable online, and a book called Glorification, which is extremely inspirational and uplifting. Good place to get started.
In addition to Dr. Kepi's work, is there any other resource or sources that you might share with us that might help us in our own journey in overcoming our fears?
I think that you should stick close to me because I've been developing a lot of new stuff. I'm going to be working on programs that help people with entrepreneurial desires, people that want to start their business. I'm very excited about that. I've had my own business, the Great Voice Company, now for almost 30 years, so I'm extremely passionate about helping others do that. I think it's very important that everybody has some sort of side gig and has the, I think having a business has been fundamental for giving me strength and equilibrium in my life. So, if you want to go over to greatvoice.com or send me an email at voicepro, VOICEPRO, at greatvoice.com, I'll keep you on my lists, and, we'll stay in touch, and I think I can be very helpful for you.
Are you ready for the speed round?
Yeah. Can I just say something, though, beforehand?
Sure.
Okay, so look, fear is one of those things that has fallen into the hands of the pop psychologists and, motivational speakers and things like that. So I know the great Zig Ziglar, who's a phenomenal sales trainer, liked to say that fear stood for false evidence, appearing real. And I just want to say that while I respect that man and so many of these other great speakers and motivational people, Tony Robbins and the like, to really get to the root of fear, you have to really realize that the root attitudes are unconscious. And you cannot positive think them away or affirm your way out of them or, rah-rah your way out of them, because it's a real issue, but that has roots in, in much more deeper things, So, evil, as Kepi says, evil in the sense, fear or things like that, is the rejection of goodness. There's a dialectic we need to make that we're healthy and we deny that health and to become ill, and that's an unconscious attitude. It's not that we're created with good and evil within us, with fear and confidence, No, fear is the denial of confidence, according to Kepi. So that, to me, is especially hopeful and uplifting.
Great. So what is your biggest weakness, would you say?
I would say my biggest weakness is, is this the immediate tendency is to think of this like an interview. So you want to give something that is like mild. So, oh man, if I could put it in one thought, I would say that I've had to struggle with being self-centered in a very deep way, and I think about that all the time, and I work very, very hard to overcome that. And I think that if I'm being very honest, I think that a lot of people have that. It's a rare person that's, naturally, altruistic, but that's one that I really struggle with every day, and I try to, root that attitude out.
What's your biggest strength?
Definitely, I'm a communicator. I've worked my whole life, my whole career with my voice, and I am very proud and grateful that God has given me the talent of being able to communicate well. I have a nice voice, and that, and also I love working with my students. I love working with people. I think I'm strong in that as well.
If you could change instantly one thing in the world, what would that be?
Instantly, I wish more people had consciousness, and there are people that say that's going to happen instantly one day, in many different ways. But I think that would be it. But there ain't no instant. There's no tooth fairy, Billy. It ain't going to happen. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, we all have dreams.
I know. But we also have the ability to make choices at every minute in our life instantly. So having a great life is 1 minute at a time. It's one choice at a time. It's using your will. You see, our will is completely inverted, Billy, and upside down. And we're going to tend to make the wrong choice every step of the way. So I think that once you know that about yourself, you can be free. Do the opposite of what you want to do, and you'll be happy.
I was just about to ask you if you had any parting advice for us today, but I think you just covered that.
Oh, good.
Well, I want to thank you so much today, Susan, for joining us. It's been very helpful and very enlightening, and I wish you the best of luck on your new venture, and have a great day.
Oh, thanks, Billy, and congratulations on this program.
Thank you for joining me today. And remember, you cannot achieve everything, but you do have the God-given ability to achieve anything. So stay focused, out of fear, and keep on keeping on. Until next time, be well and peaceful. For more information on today's episode and guest, or for resources that will assist you in overcoming your fears, visit livingbeyondyourfears.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, where 3 times a week we move to a life beyond our fears.